What if I told you that slavery never ended and it just got rebranded as debt? In this video, I'm going to break down how the modern financial system replaced chains with contracts, how debt keeps people trapped in cycles of labor and fear, and why understanding the truth about money is the first step to real freedom. Now, I've studied the credit system, the U.S. monetary law, and commercial code, and I'm here to expose how your signature became a leash. All right, now, before we dive into this video, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications because I do post daily content Monday through Friday. Number two, thank you guys once again. We've been going crazy on Instagram and also on YouTube, man. So make sure to tap into those platforms. The links will be in the description. Hit the subscribe button. You dig me? When you push the algorithm, I can keep dropping bangers like this. Now, part of the conversation today is to really get into the mindset behind the reason why we talk about debt discharge, the reason why we talk about the things that we talk about on this channel, because people think that this is just a financial thing. But the reality is that this is beyond financial. This is very much mental. And this is part of the reason why we are not able to move forward in our life, because debt is a mental slavery. You dig me? And once you start to break those barriers around the things that you knew and start to learn the truth, this makes doing other things in your life much more feasible, okay? Because a lot of us move with fear, all right? So what we're going to be talking about today is how slavery didn't die, how it evolved. We're going to be talking about how debt enslaves the mind. We're going to talk about the mechanics of economic bondage. And we're going to talk about the hidden escape route through debt discharge, all right? And ultimately, the whole point of this video is to help you break free, okay? Break free from the matrix, break free from debt, break free from the things that you felt like you couldn't do, to overcome those fears and start pushing towards your goals in life. You dig me? So let's dive straight into it. Now, first things first, man, slavery didn't die, it evolved, okay? So when you look at how physical slavery became socially unacceptable, right? They decided to do this in a more subtle way, all right? They created systems that extract the same energy that it took as opposed to slavery, and just made it so that you couldn't visibly see it. Because back in the day, obviously whipping somebody and forcing them to do labor without pay is something that is frowned upon, okay? But let's just go ahead and do it in a more systematic way that people won't think or understand that it's still slavery, okay? So instead of chains, we got credit scores. Instead of masters, we got lender. And instead of whips, we got interest rates. You dig me? So think about it. You don't need bars when you can make people afraid to miss a payment. You get what I'm saying? You gotta really think deeply about this. People think that, okay, well, you know, if we can do this, why don't they just let us discharge debt? Well, that's the whole point. It's almost like you are a slave running away from your master if you decide to take a different route. But obviously, the people who are able to overcome that, the people who are able to create that underground railroad, the people who are able to fight against the systems are the ones that's actually going to be able to change the world and the circumstance. Now, I put this out there, not that things will just immediately go away, but if one person does it one at a time, what do you think will happen? Okay, change will have to happen. All right, now, they may already have something different, right? Soon as debt stop working, they may already have something put in place. You dig me? So just think about it. Boom, your credit score is below 600 credit score. You think that you cannot do anything, okay? And then when we talk about the lenders, I mean, why do we go to work? We go to work every single day so that we can pay our debt, okay? Then we dive into the fact that if you miss a payment, they're going to bring the interest rates up, or the longer that you hold on to debt, the more money you'll end up spending on the debt. So a lot of times, instead of us holding balances and things in that nature, we just go ahead and pay it as much as we can. Sometimes we even do the minimum payment, and we really get hit with those interest rates. Okay, the people that especially don't understand how to use debt properly really feel more enslaved by the system than the people who, number one, use it properly, or number two, the people who understand debt in its totality. Okay, who will employ some of the strategies that I talk about on this channel. Okay, so when you really think about that and you really break that down, I mean, you got to understand this is really engraved deep in our mentality. Okay, slavery never has gone away, believe it or not. There's some people who get mad at people like Kanye, or black conservatives that will say slavery is a choice. You know what I mean? And they're not really just talking about physical slavery. They're talking about how we are literally enslaved every single day to the almighty dollar or to the almighty debt. Okay, and part of choosing to be enslaved is not just like, okay, if you are under duress and somebody's forcing you to do something, ultimately, like you if you're forced to do something in a sense and you genuinely cannot like fix it, I get it. But if you're not forced, if there are ways out of it, such as educating yourself, such as putting yourself in position so that you are in full understanding, such as putting yourself in position to be able to fight back, that's where the choice comes. People choose to stay ignorant. Okay? People choose to like in the Matrix, red pill or blue pill. Okay? People don't choose to take the red pill. They choose to keep their life the same exact way because they want to stay comfortable. They don't want to go after the things that make them uncomfortable. They say when you know better, you do better. This is why people prefer not to know better, and they prefer to just be asleep. Okay? They prefer to not wake up to the information out there or believe the information because it's so deep engraved and so indoctrinated in them that they prefer not to fight against it. They think they cannot. If Harriet Tubman had that same exact mindset, then she wouldn't have saved all of those slaves back in the day. Okay. Now I don't want to make it back. I don't want to, and to be honest, it's not that I want to, I genuinely care to step on anybody's toes or make anybody feel away or less or whatever the case may be. But when you stop moving with emotion and you start focusing on the truth, then that's where your life will actually change. Okay. So here's how debt enslaves the mind. Okay. The system trains us to borrow money we don't have, work jobs we don't love, pay interest on the money that we created, and then fear credit drops more than lost dreams. So a lot of times when we talk about this, you know what I mean? I was speaking to a client the other day who didn't want to borrow. He had an 800 plus credit score and he did not want to get a loan to grow his business. That just doesn't make any sense. He will rely on his friend with the bad credit to fix their credit so that they can use a loan for their business. And I had to tell the friend, I said, look, if your friend is not going to invest in the business, then he doesn't believe in it as much as you do. You're willing to go and put in the work to fix your credit, and he already has good credit, but he doesn't want to borrow against himself to be able to grow more money. And instead, he would prefer to continue to work his job instead of getting a loan and investing in his business. Now, if you don't believe in a business, don't get a loan and invest in it. You know what I mean? But if you do, then that's what you should do. You shouldn't be worried about your credit dropping because of your loan. Okay. Now, back to the fact that then we talk about the aspect of borrowing money we don't have. Okay. That's what the system wants you to think. The system wants you to think that you're borrowing money that you don't have. But the truth is that money is being created. Money is created when you sign a loan agreement. In layman's terms, it's a promissory note, which is a promise to pay order, and that is a negotiable instrument or a financial asset to the bank. So as soon as you write your signature on there and you hand it to them, you have already given them the value for the credit that was created and given to you. Okay? And then a lot of us go to work to pay bills. But again, if you don't know and you're trained to think that your bills is something that is real, you get what I'm saying? You're going to feel like that's what you're going to work for. Okay? But then we talk about how we ended up paying interest. Okay? You can challenge a company after the fact you get a loan. Now, I'm not at all saying that one should, you know what I mean, not pay your bills and things of that nature. Like, obviously, like, if you have a system behind paying your bills, pay it as fast as possible so that you don't have a lot of interest. But also at the same time, if you are looking to maneuver through the system, then you want to use it. You want to use it instead of treating it like it's against you. Okay. And stop worrying about your credit dropping. I know people who have good credit reports, but their credit drops because they add a new line of credit and they're all in a bunch that their credit dropped. No, just fix those negative items or just allow that account to season, and it doesn't matter if the credit drops. Now, let's move on. You were born with an SSN number, okay? You were trained to chase fake money, okay? And then your labor backs the system, but you're still in debt, okay? So I want you to ask yourself this. If your energy created the credit, why are you the one paying for it? You get what I'm saying? Part of removing yourself from the enslavement is questioning those things that don't make sense, okay? But we don't want to question them. Why not? You have nothing to lose, okay? So part of you being born with an SSN number kind of puts you in this debt system, but it doesn't mean that the debt system will forever enslave you. It only just puts you in a credit system that you can still use to your benefit. Now, moving on. Let's just talk about the mechanics of economic bondage. You sign a loan. The bank creates money based on your signature. That debt is sold, insured, bundled, profited from, and then they make you pay back with interest. So here are some key points. Number one, your signature funds the loan. That's the first thing. So thinking that you have to pay back a loan that isn't even a loan, that isn't even something that they funded, is bullshit. Okay? Your signature funds the loan. Number two, the labor pays it back. Because when you go and work, you start to pay back your loan with the labor. It's not really that you're paying it back with money, you're paying it back with labor, because money is just energy. And energy is time, labor, and attention. Okay? So they profit off both ends. Not only do they profit on the front end, but they also profit on the back end off of your time, labor, and attention. But you got to think, what is the most powerful thing that a person needs or utilizes on a daily basis? Is that time, labor, and attention. It's not really about the money. It's the energy that we use to make money that is valuable. Okay? So they use your promise to pay to enslave you into more promises. You got to think deeper. It's not just the game of, you were loaned money and they just want you to pay back what you loaned them. But when you finally get told the truth and you realize that they didn't actually loan you money, okay, it was your signature that created the money, because that allowed that promissory note to become a financial asset to them. Then you start to realize that, okay, why am I working so hard to pay back a loan? Because at any point in time, I get people who say, well, I don't want to pay my loan. I'm done paying my debt. Well, stop paying it then. What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to your credit is going to go down. In the reality of it, if you're not actually using your credit to build wealth, then it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. You can employ all these strategies, send them a debt validation letter, challenge them, be consistent. And yes, your credit is going to take a hit. And if you don't know how to fix your credit is going to take a hit. But but they cannot sue you. They cannot harass you about the debt. They cannot reach out to you about the debt if you employ these strategies. The worst that can happen is your credit is going to get hit. But this is why people are so big on, okay, I got to make sure to pay my debt. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's not because they genuinely feel like they owe somebody something is literally because they don't want their credit to be messed up. If your credit didn't get messed up and there was no credit score, you probably wouldn't pay back a debt you didn't want to pay. If you didn't believe that you got the services rendered to you, you wouldn't pay those people back. Trust me, I'm an entrepreneur. There's people who will not pay me when they feel like they're not getting the services that are rendered to them. Okay? Any entrepreneur goes through that. So why do banks get to attach these things to your credit score? And now, even when they are not only making more money, double dipping, scamming you, you still feel enslaved to pay them back. Okay? Now, let's just talk about the aspect of what our Underground Railroad is. Okay? Our Underground Railroad is discharge. Okay? Most people don't understand that debt discharge is transferring the obligation from one party to the next. Okay? If you are dissing a charge, that is dismissing a charge. Okay? So when you think of like a criminal case, or you think of, you going to court or something like that, if the charge gets dismissed, then essentially there is no charge anymore. Okay? Stare decisis, the case is closed. All right? But the law talks about these discharge remedies, but they don't teach them. That doesn't mean it's not there. Okay? That's the part of manipulation. They teach you what they want you to know. Okay? They go based off of trust and not truth. You dig me? That's two different things. You could trust somebody and believe what they say just because you trust them, but it doesn't always mean that what they're saying is true. Versus the aspect of truth is something that is set in stone. Okay? If 2 + 2 = 4, it doesn't equal 3. Okay? So it's a lot of things that are out there in the world that we just go based off of our belief and our trust. But when somebody shows you the real things, it's like you're so enslaved and so like, you know what I mean? Your head is so manipulated in things in that nature that you won't look at that and then start questioning those people that taught you. Okay, we'll just knowingly just follow somebody that looks more or it says they are the authority. Even when you come to this channel, question me. And I'll be right down in the comment section. I'm going to respond back. Okay? Question and go and do the reverse research. Don't just go based off of what I tell you in these YouTube videos. Actually do the research. You know what I mean? So this is the part of the video where I just give you that exact steps. Okay, now, before we dive into that, make sure you like, subscribe. Okay, hit that like button. Okay, I'm a little bit greasy today. Hit that like button. Okay, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, because right now we're about to dive into the hidden railroad as it pertains to debt, how to be able to get out of this enslavement. Okay, so one of the first laws I like to talk about when it comes to debt discharge is the tender of payment, UCC 3-603. Okay, when you look at B, all right, it says if a tender of payment of an obligation to pay an instrument is made to a person entitled to enforce the instrument and the tender is refused, there is discharge to the extent of the amount of tender of the obligation of the endorser or the accommodation party having the right of recourse with respect to the obligation in which the tender relates. So if the law says that you can pay with an instrument isn't just a dollar. Okay, if you want to look at the definition of instrument, it says it right here. Okay, dive deep, pause it, read these things. Okay, because not on here does it just say a dollar. Okay, when you think about it, a check is not a dollar. You get what I'm saying? Oh, you think that you're gonna do the check and then you're gonna withdraw funds because of the check? The check is no different from a dollar bill. It's a piece of paper that you signed. Dig me? It's a promise. You know what I mean? So let's just go back. And this is under UCC 3-104 that breaks down the definition of negotiable instrument. Means a unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money with or without interest or other charge described in the promise or order. So means a unconditional promise. It doesn't say that it is a dollar. You dig me? But the dollar is also an unconditional promise because that dollar is an IOU piece of paper. So let's just go back to the tender of payment. Okay, so let's just say you create your own negotiable instrument and you use it as a tender of payment. Okay, this is something that you are really moving in honor. And if it is refused, then it is discharged. They forfeited the ability for them to collect on the debt. So let's dive into the next aspect, okay? When it comes to conditional acceptance, okay? Conditional acceptance is saying, hey, look, I conditionally accept this if you can prove X, Y, and Z. I will contract with you if you can prove that the contract is valid, okay? You're saying I agree to pay, but I will agree to pay if you can prove that this contract, if this was a legitimate contract, okay? So I like to pull up this letter specifically, okay? When you look at conditional acceptance, it says, I hereby conditionally accept your presentment and claims upon receipt of the following: a certified copy of the original signed agreement bearing my wet ink signature, proof of lawful consideration exchanged at the inception of the agreement, a full chain of assignment from the original creditor to your office, a full accounting and ledger under UCC 9-210 showing all debits, credits, discharges, and insurance payouts, proof that no third party, insurer, government, or bond has satisfied or offset this obligation, valid proof that your office is the holder in due course under UCC 3-301, okay? So when you start to challenge a company and you ask them and you tell them, hey, I conditionally accept this if you provide X, Y, and Z, and if you do not provide this, then I cannot accept your presentment. I cannot accept your claims unless you prove otherwise. Okay, then we dive into the affidavit of truth. Okay, I talk about this. A lot of people think that this is just a piece. Affidavit of truth can be a simple form put in one letter where you're literally breaking down a statement of facts and what you know to be true. Okay, look, boom, I'm a living man, woman, declare the following to be true, correct, and complete to the best of my knowledge. I have no verified knowledge of a lawful contract, agreement, obligation between myself and your agency or any alleged creditor. I have never received full disclosure, consideration, and a wet ink signed agreement proving a meeting of the minds. I dispute the alleged debt in its entirety and assert that it may have been satisfied, bonded, discharged, securitized, or otherwise settled. And number 4, I'm unaware of any lawful claim to your office that supersedes my rights under contract, commerce, and constitution. This affidavit stands as truth unless rebutted point for point within 10 days of the receipt. This is the key part. If you say something under your affidavit of truth and this goes unrebutted point for point, then everything stands as truth. All right? I don't know how much simpler I can put it for some of the people out there. And I know that this is not everybody, but if you watch my videos, I will literally show you exactly what I mean and how to properly exercise this. But I'll still get on the phone with some people or still get comments, and people will say, well, how do you discharge? It's bigger than just sending in your tender of payments. Okay, you have to know these key foundations in order to enforce your tender of payment. Okay, then we dive into how to be able to put this tender of payment in your letter. Okay, look, notice of tender enclosed is a lawful tender of payment in the form of private remittance, coupon, instrument, offered in good faith in accordance with UCC 3-603 and applicable tender laws. So when you quote UCC 3-603, you don't even have to break down. You don't even have to break down the UCC 3-603. They're supposed to know it. You know what I mean? So, boom, when you put UCC 3-603 in there, you're literally saying that if this is refused, there is discharged. I don't have to explain that. Okay? And this also says that this tender constitutes a bona fide effort to discharge the alleged obligation. Any rejection or refusal to process this lawful offer constitutes a dishonor under UCC 3-505, which is the evidence of discharge, the evidence of dishonor. Okay, if you did something lawfully and they ignore it or reject it, they must provide reasons why they ignored it or rejected it, or more importantly, they have to be notified of their dishonor. Why did you dishonor me? If you cannot give me a valid reason of why you dishonored me, then you are in default, okay? An agreement to all the terms expressed in this very letter. Okay, so then we dive into 15 USC 1692. And this is if they come after the fact and they try to challenge you on your debt and say you this is a debt. I mean, after I already sent you, after I already discharged it, it's discharged. When I send this letter, it got discharged already when you rejected it. So you can go ahead and you can talk their shit and say, look, well, you know, you still owe me. Well, now I'm going to send the debt validation letter. Okay. I have rights, because now you're going to have to not only answer the things I just talked about, but now you're going to have to prove that you actually legally are the holder in due course of this debt. You have to prove this debt wasn't discharged. Okay. You have to prove that I didn't perform. And you cannot just say, oh, well, you didn't pay with the dollar, 31 USC 5103. It says that legal tender United States coins or currencies are legal tender for all debts, public charges, taxes, and dues. Okay, foreign gold or silver coins are not legal tender for all debts. I bring this up and somebody may say, well, it says that Federal Reserve notes are legal tender for all debts, but it does not say it is the only legal tender for all debts. Then we dive into the definition of tender. Oh my goodness, I can keep it going, not tender. Then we dive into the definition of tender, which is very similar to negotiable instruments. A tender is to unconditionally offer money or performance to meet an obligation. Nowhere does it say that it's a dollar. So let's just dive into UCC 3-104. Oh my goodness, I can keep it going. It says that a negotiable instrument means an unconditional promise or order to pay a fixed amount of money. Isn't it very same? It's very different. I mean, very much the same from an unconditional offer of money or performance. Their only argument is that you are not using legal tender, but they will have to prove that a negotiable instrument is not legal tender. They have to prove that they didn't use it as a financial asset. You know what I mean? So these aren't loopholes. They are lawful exits from spiritual bondage. If you decide to use them, if you decide to believe them, it's up to you. This is not based on belief. It's based off of real information that I just pulled up for you. Now you have to make the safe the deduction. And I don't know if that's the right word, but you have to now make your best judgment based off of the information you just seen. And if your judgment is, well, it doesn't work, this is when you are making the choice. This is when somebody shows you the truth and you still decide to do whatever it is that you want to do. You still decide to take the blue pill. Okay? Yes, it is a choice. When you decide to just wrap your head around this and say you don't get it, instead of doing your own due diligence and taking action, you are deciding to be enslaved. When you decide to get an auto loan and then complain that you have debt to pay, you're deciding to be enslaved. When you decide to get a loan or you use the money on your credit card to buy something you can't afford, you are deciding to be enslaved. I don't want to pay debt. Well, stop buying things on credit. Stop trying to get credit then. You get what I'm saying? But also at the same time, stop paying debt and learn the things I'm telling you right now and start to challenge them on this. It's much harder to try to escape slavery than actually just be a part of it. You get what I'm saying? But either way, I think that they both are hard. It's hard to constantly do things and be in the same cycles over and over and over again and give your energy to something that you do not believe in. But when you transmute that energy into something you do believe in, then that is much more freeing than actually doing something that requires all your energy to something you don't like or don't want to do. Nobody wants to get up on Monday and work till Friday, 9 to 5, 8 hours a day. There's some people that work 10 hours. There's some people that work 12 hours and barely make over 6 figures. Okay. So I want you to understand that the real system honors honor. You dig me? And it's the fear-based game that wants your silence. They win based off of you being silent. You know what I mean? Now, I want you to know that everything I talk about right now is about your freedom. It's not about, me just wanting to be a conspiracy theorist and get your emotions riled up and things in that nature. No, it's about you exercising your freedom. Okay? You have the freedom to do everything that I'm talking about right now. And this is not legal advice. You have the freedom to not do it and have the freedom to do it. And I'm not saying that this is the only way to become free. You can become free in multiple ways. Okay? What if you had $10 million right now? Would you even care about debt unless you had debts upwards to $10 million? You probably use debt to get closer to $10 million. Okay? Whether you're going to use the actual debt or whether you're going to put your time and energy to make the $10 million. Okay? Now, when you know your rights, this is how you break free. Okay? You don't beat the system with emotion. You beat it with paper. You beat it with truth. And the freedom starts when you realize you've always had the power. They just never told you. I want you to understand that slavery didn't end. It got smarter, but so can you. Okay? A lot of people think that, boom, the government is somebody that is smarter than me. But what if I told you that you can start your own government? You can start your own corporation and call it a government. Get a conglomerate of people and tell them what you want to know. Now, if you don't know the etymology of government, govern means to control and mint means mind. Okay? So the government is put in place to control your mind. And you can look that up. But you want me to look it up for you? I had to think about it. Do I want to look that up? Let's look it up. When you look at the meaning behind govern, okay, it has multiple meanings, but we'll just go straight down to this meaning right here that says control, influence, or regulate. Okay. Also down here in terms of the origin, it says to steer, to rule. Okay. Now, then we dive into the definition of mint, and this is on minbean.com. It could be right, could be wrong, whatever the case may be, but it says mind. Okay. So even when they dive into mental, okay, something mental is of the mind. Okay, when you think of dementia, it deals with your brain. Okay, so then we dive into even when you look at demented, person is not in their right mind. Okay, so when you think of mint has a lot to do with mind. But then some people may argue and say, well, it's not that mint technically means something, but it could be the word mens, okay? And mens means mind, okay? In some cultures. So I bring that up because obviously we can go on the spree of finding multiple definitions of different origins. But when you start to bring that up, there are things that are out there that is just not what it seems, okay? And you have to be willing to challenge it. And you have to be willing to control your own mind. Don't let anybody else control your mind. Don't even let me. I may sound good. It may sound persuasive. I may sound very detailed, educational and things of that nature. But, I'm not trying to manipulate you. I'm just trying to give out the real game. And whether or not you watch these videos and you appreciate the real game I give you, and I know that there's a great majority of people who do appreciate this game. Obviously, I would love this to go out to multiple people, hundreds of thousands of people. And if you want that to happen, just click the like button. You know what I mean? This video may hit 1,000 plus views. Let's get 300 likes on this video. 300 likes on this video. We'll be able to help the algorithm push this out there so people can see it. Because they don't want to push this to the forefront. They don't want to push somebody giving an actual game. They'll push somebody out there that's doing it more in a conspiracy theoretic way. And they are not giving real law-based truths. So understand that if your labor creates money and your signature creates the loan, but you're still the one in change, it's time to question everything. Debt is spiritual warfare. Okay? And the law is your sword. All right? Now, thank you guys for getting all the way to the end of the video. Down below, I have the complete debt guide down there. That's pretty much breaks down the letter that I just showed you guys. You can be able to get that letter from the complete debt guide, but also at the same time, be able to get that step-by-step instruction in the complete debt guide. This is to go hand in hand with my YouTube videos. So if you want all the resources and templates and things of that nature that go hand in hand with, I talk about my YouTube videos, go grab the complete debt guide. Okay, not only will it have the materials that I'm talking about just now, but it'll even have old materials and old studies from my past, and you will be able to get the full journey of me breaking down debt in its totality. Okay, grab the complete debt guide. Number 2, if you're looking for one-on-one mentorship, the one-on-one mentorship is a private coaching experience for people who want to change their circumstance and change their life. If you want to be able to build wealth through credit, funding, and also at the same time starting an online business, go ahead and book that one-on-one mentorship. Okay, this is not for everybody. Okay, you'll be able to talk to myself and my team. We'll be able to figure out your goals and we'll go from there. All right, if you're trying to get on the phone and ask questions, it's probably not for you. Okay. Number 3, follow my Instagram for daily content and updates to my YouTube channel, to my new content. And those people typically get the information first before YouTube does. Okay. My last question is, if you ever feel like your life has became just about working and just to stay afloat, let's talk freedom in the comment section. Okay. Let's go ahead and start breaking down the barriers, because nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to overcome this. Nobody wants to do better when they know better. Okay. So remember to like, subscribe, turn on the post notifications, because we don't fear the system. We learn it and then we break it. I love you guys. Make sure you comment the word discharge if you got all the way to the end, and I'll see you next time.